Topping today's news, teachers facing challenges to end the school year, new legislation for Bahamian mothers to pass on citizenship underway, and the opposition pressures the government to take steps to reduce fuel costs. Good evening, folks. I'm Jerino Saunders, and this is your JCN Evening News. Thanks for joining us. The academic school year for public schools did not end as expected with the distribution of report cards, as the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training encounters challenges in its learning management system. Subsequent to this, education officials announced a 14-day delay in the distribution of report cards. Here's Delvado Emmanuel with more in this report.
A 2-week delay in public schools report card distribution. National Report Card Day was scheduled for today across the Bahamas. However, officials of the Ministry of Education, Technical and Vocational Training announced that the collection for report card for grades 1 to 11 is delayed as education officials address technical challenges related to report card generation encountered in the ministry's learning management system, LMS. While officials in a statement say they have consulted with the Bahamas Union of Teachers, the Bahamas Educators Managerial Union, and the Bahamas Educators Counselors Allied Workers Union, BUT President Belinda Wilson on Tuesday lamented a number of challenges that teachers have faced leading up to the date, including system errors, incorrect grades, and the inability to transfer grades when accessing the government's LMS and EMIS system.
Absentee reports are not generated. The notice is showing pending. Their concerns about recording attendance for homework and subject attendance. The LMS was closed even before teachers' marking days. The Ministry of Education kept changing deadlines for entering grades and the administering of examinations.
Mrs. Wilson goes on to explain that the ministry's LMS and EMIS system only opens for a limited time and subjects that have no grades calculated presenting as 0 on the student's report. Add to that, the system periodically shuts down. At least one school, according to the BUT president, was unable to access the Excel format. She is admonishing parents not to blame the teachers, but to hold government officials accountable.
Teachers have done their part, which is to teach the students, to draft the examinations, to administer the examinations, to mark the examinations, and to enter their grades. It is the Ministry of Education's responsibility to ensure that the LMS and the EMIS is functioning efficiently to generate the report cards. So I thought to address this publicly because teachers are stressed out over this, because the hard work that they've given throughout the school year can very well be jeopardized because of an inadequate, inoperable, inefficient Ministry of Education, LMS and EMIS system.
Following the announcement of the 2-week delay, Mrs. Wilson noted that the BUT is in agreement, adding that the teachers will see if the 14-day deadline is achieved. She goes on to say that the Ministry of Education must admit that the LMS and EMS platform has failed the teachers and students, and they must seek to have a proper operable virtual platform implemented. Mrs. Wilson contends that the unprecedented times call for creativity and sustainability. Add to that, an educational plan is needed forthwith, as well as officials with adequate skills hired to ensure that the education in the Bahamas moves forward. She says at this time, sadly, the education system is going backwards. As for the delay of report card distribution, the Ministry of Education apologized for the inconvenience to students, teachers, and all relevant stakeholders. Officials add that parents will have the option to receive the report cards either by hard copy or digitally. Reporting from JCN, I'm Delvado Emmanuel.
Thanks, Delvado. The topic concerning women being able to transfer their Bahamian citizenship to their children born abroad to foreign men is back in the spotlight. The last time this particular bill was presented, it was during the 2016 failed referendum when it was combined with 3 other bills. On Wednesday in the Senate, Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Ryan Pinder introduced as part of the government's legislative agenda the Nationality Bill 2022.
We will advance appropriate legislation to finally bring equality to Bahamian men and women in the transmission of citizenship to their children, bringing in conclusion through law of the vexing issues that we experience of inequality in this country. And I'm glad my colleague, Senator Ellis, brought this up, because I'm sure due to her advocacy, the opposition will have nothing to say about this issue. An initial draft has been prepared and commented on internally, and we look to advance consultation after bringing to cabinet and ultimately tabling this in Parliament.
Although the referendum on the 4 constitutional amendments failed, the question regarding the right for both Bahamian fathers and mothers being entitled to pass on their citizenship to a child born abroad to a non-Bahamian saw 88.69% of respondents support the bill. Meanwhile, for those that would still oppose the bill, the Attorney General explained there is already a provision in the Constitution that would allow for this bill to become law.
And for those who may raise questions to this legislative action, let me be clear. The Constitution in Article 13 provides that Parliament, us, may make provision for the acquisition of citizenship of the Bahamas by persons who do not become citizens of the Bahamas by virtue of the provisions of this chapter in the Constitution. It's irrefutable. Advancing equality when it comes to the transmission of citizenship is explicitly permitted through the legislative mechanisms of Parliament, and we intend on using that avenue to go forward. We will bring an end to this vexing issue of inequality between men and women on the transmission of citizenship, Madam President. We are brave. Be brave, my colleagues, be brave.
Again, as it stands, only a Bahamian father can pass on their citizenship to a child born outside of the Bahamas to a non-Bahamian. If the National Bill 2022 is passed, children of Bahamian women born to foreign men outside of the Bahamas would also be able to qualify for Bahamian citizenship. Gas prices continue to increase, and the Free National Movement's deputy leader, Shannon Don Cartwright, is calling on the government to reduce taxes on fuel. The opposition deputy, in a statement, says the government who promised a new day must give tax relief, and they must do so today. As he contends, Bahamians need relief at the gas pumps now. The St. Barnabas Member of Parliament lamenting the skyrocketing price of gas as he charges that the economic pressures continue to mount on the Bahamian economy, particularly on the pockets of struggling Bahamians. He says the government continues to play bystander and take a hands-off approach as the fuel crisis engulfs Bahamian motorists. Mr. Cartwright notes that the government has offered more rhetoric than relief as Bahamians contend with gas prices that average $7 per gallon. He said the government can act by reducing the taxes it receives in order to alleviate the pain at the gas pumps for Bahamian consumers. The statement goes on to say that the government enjoys the benefit of stamp tax and VAT on wholesale and retail prices, or purchases rather, of fuel. He said the government can begin to bring relief to the Bahamian people by reducing taxes on fuel immediately. Minister of National Security cites the death of an inmate as a reason why improvements are needed at the Bahamas Department of Correctional Services. His response came when he was asked about the death of inmate Mikel Miller, which happened last year in November. According to Miller's family, he had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and had shown erratic and unpredictable behavior when off his medication, having a history of treatment at Sandilands Rehabilitation Center. Minister Monroe says he has yet to see the final report on that incident, and he does not know of any charges against anyone for that incident.
When you have persons who may be somewhat troubled being housed in general population, it creates a problem. One of the wings that is proposed to be constructed in the new high medium prison will be a wing for mentally challenged, mentally disturbed persons who can be housed in a manner to be safe to themselves and not cause injury to others.
When asked about updates to the new prison facility, Minister Monroe said initial meetings have been had, adding that the financial secretary is directing them on how to proceed and to specify what their needs may be.
During that process, it came out that we have to demolish the virtual co-op, and so we will have to rebuild that. Otherwise, we'll be transporting hundreds and hundreds of prisoners downtown unnecessarily. So we're at the point where the partner has to engage experts. So they're being directed back to the Ministry of Finance to work out issues surrounding that business solution.
Minister Monroe says teams from the Bahamas Department of Correctional Services, the Ministry of Finance, and the Ministry of Works are expected to visit correctional facilities in the United States sometime in July and again in August to assess and make sure that the new facility here in the Bahamas aligns as a properly certified institution. Great news coming out of Central Eleuthera as the Bahamas Water and Sewage Corporation will roll out its $3 million upgrade to water stations in Central Eleuthera, a strategic effort to assist in mitigating supply disruption on the island. This comes as water and sewage officials on Wednesday addressed a major technical failure at its naval-based desalination plant this past Monday. The breakdown called for the required replacement parts to be shipped in from the United States. The corporation says it will execute a contract for a new 1 million imperial gallon storage tank at the naval-based pumping station and another 1 million imperial gallon storage tank at its Bogue pumping station in the next few days. These tanks will increase the available water and storage that can be utilized to supply customers while major mechanical issues are addressed, thereby reducing the frequency of water supply interruptions. The total contract value for the tanks is $2.75 million, and a further $525,000 in related support works will be executed. We'll take a break here, and we'll be right back after these commercials.